All right, we will call the meeting to order. And the first thing we would have, like normal then, is silent meditation and pledge allegiance. I would like everybody to also, in your silent meditation, take a moment. The day is past, but Monday was Memorial Day, and there's been a lot of talk lately about people's rights, and they should think a little bit about what some people gave up so they could have their rights. So. I would also like to mention cell phones. Shut them off or put them on vibrate if that's not done already. Okay, first item we have then is number 3, approval of the minutes from the April 21st, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Richard Furfecki, seconded by Randy, I'm not going to say Randy Kraus again. I did that a long time ago. Randy Young. Is there any questions or comments? If not, we'll do it by acclamation then. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carried. Matt is working right now. We do have one call in, which is Dan Miller, but do you have him on the phone? Okay. And you want to read the roll call, Pam, or we are missing Deb, I believe, is all.
Deb and Sandy.
Okay. I guess just mark them, yeah, is absent. I hope they're not sitting at the Crawford Center wondering where we are. Oh, okay. I did leave this on the agenda, although it was optional. Is there anyone here for public comment? Okay, seeing none, then we will move on. Okay, we do have Deb now. We will move on then to item number 5, motion to deviate from the order of the agenda. Motion by Milton Marquardt, seconded by Terry Tipton. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Chairman's report. The first thing I was going to touch on is for the new people, every 2-year cycle we go through the rule book and we adjust the rules for what's going to be for the next 2 years. And this last time around, it was decided to eliminate the administrative committee and the finance committee and combine them into one executive committee. Well, by doing so, it was my first time through trying to do committee assignments, and I can't really believe how much that hampered the ability to assign people where you wanted to. Before, you could put somebody on the executive committee or the admin committee, the chairman could, but now them people are selected by other committees. So I can appoint 2 members, well actually 3 members to it, but one has to be the chairman, one has to be the vice chairman, so I'm really only appointing 1 member at large, and by the rules we made that, one member at large cannot be on public property, I believe, public safety, any of what's considered the quote major committees. Well, that takes away what, 7, 8 slots that I could have filled with people to scatter out so more of them thought was on a various committee. We'll see how it works, but maybe that's something that we'll want to reconsider when it comes the next time around, because It does limit the chairman, but it does also put more control in the hands of a smaller number of people on the board. So we'll see what comes from that. I would also like everybody to encourage anyone you see for the census. Right now, we are running at, the national average is at 59.7%, and ours is at 63.9. We are above the average, but the more we can get for numbers, the more funding that we get from the state, because that all adds up to bring dollars back to our area. So plug away if you can, Adam. At our executive committee, we started discussions on the budget for next year, and this is not wrote in stone, it's a starting point, but it's been projected that the revenue is going to be down significantly for next year. So we asked the department heads, and we were asking, we weren't going to send anybody specifically to the committees, if I remember right, but we were asking as a starting point for the committees to try work with their departments and see if they can't come up with roughly a 2.5% budget cut. We have other options that are out there. We also considered at the KIP committee, whoever was there, possibly no projects for next year, because that's heavily based on the property tax. But that's all projected to be way down, but we won't know more for another 2 or 3 months if things open up and the money starts to come back in more, or if we end up with less. But that's what we put out. So if you hear anything from the committee meetings that you're in or any department heads, that's what we were looking to start at. And unfortunately, no money for no raises next year for any of the employees, because that would be another 2% right there, like we've always been trying to do. So we will see what comes of that. I believe next month, when we decided to suspend the rules, unless somebody thinks I'm way wrong, possibly we'll do the same thing here next month. If I can, I don't know if I can do that or not, have the meeting here and go back to having the regular rules reinstated. There you are. Oh. It makes a click when you turn it on, though. I'll be able to get it closer to it.
I don't remember the exact resolution, but it was for 60 days. So town will be free to go back to business as usual, including having a meeting out here if we thought it was in the best interest. I don't think you need approval for it, is change the date of the meeting. So I think that answers your question. So yeah, you'd be free to have it out here.
Okay. Would everybody feel more comfortable having it out here where we can spread out a little more? Yes? No? Guess we'll have it out here then. Nobody's complaining. That's a good start. Everybody should have had got a notice in the mail also for the Wisconsin Counties Association Conference. And normally we capped it at 10 members. And we should probably keep it at that, because it's not really right to be asking the departments to cut their budgets for next year and then we just keep right on going to conferences. So if you're thinking about going, contact Pam, but we should probably try and limit it as much as we can. That's one thing we can do to try and keep the costs down. Hopefully everything comes through and we can go right back to business as usual, but at this time, it's not really known. So with that in mind, that's about all I had to bring up. We will move on then to item numbers. Well, no, I did have one more. If we're going to go back to business as usual next month, then we might as well place on the agenda the Second Amendment resolution and get it over with, one way or the other. So kind of figure on it being a little longer meeting next month. If I place that on there, there may be quite a few people interested in speaking publicly, but We'll just have to kind of limit them to a small amount of time and possibly get them to pass through instead of crowding the building full. And things may change by then too. We'll see if there's a real uptick in cases or decline. Then we will move on to item number 7, the readings of petitions, memorials, communications. Pam? Okay, there are none at this time. Then we will move on to resolution number 2020, thanking Joseph Newmeyer for his 20 years of service to the residents of Shawano County. Is Joe here? Okay. You guys might as well come up front anyway, because we're going to keep right on doing them. We got 3. We lost a lot of talent at the Sheriff's Department, losing 3 people in this short time period. A lot of years of experience. Probably feels pretty good though, doesn't it, Troy?
Pam, do you want to read all 3, or do you want to just do? Okay. Yeah, Joe Newmeyer, who retired May 11th, same time as these 2. He could not, or May 1st, he retired. Yes. Joe couldn't make it. He's fishing up north, I think in Minocqua. I think he's pretty much been fishing since the day he left the department.
Good man.
So,
Okay. Well, as long as we got Troy up here, you want to skip ahead to number 9 then, quick, Pam, and we'll take care of Troy? Or am I? Okay, go ahead and do it then. I won't argue.
Okay, now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 27th day of May 2020 that the County of Shawano publicly recognizes and thanks Joe Newmeyer for his 28 years of service to the residents of Shawano County, submitted by the Public Safety Committee.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Steve Geetz, seconded by Gene Hoppy. Is there any discussion? I don't believe so. That'd be for Troy. Troy is down for 30 years. Okay, well, we'll do the voting pretty much the same as we did the last time then, basically by acclamation. And if somebody abstains when I ask for it, we'll just wait a second, and if there is no one abstaining or voting against, we'll go with the acclamation vote. So we have a motion and a second to thank Joseph Newmeyer for his 28 years of service. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, now we'll move on to item number 9, to Mr. Ugritz.
and Troy has been with, he spent 30 years with the Sheriff's Department, and a lot of those years with the Detective Division. Troy specialized in elderly complaints, fraud complaints, blue-collar crimes. He was very wealth of knowledge in those subjects that is going to be missed, and there's other things about Troy that's going to be missed, and I did have the pleasure of working with him on day shift for many years as his supervisor, and at times he was a pain in the butt, but it was fun, and Troy will be missed, and his work will be missed.
We'll back up quick, make it official. Pam will read the, well, actually, I have to start with resolution number 21-20, thanking Troy Ugritz. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Joe Miller, seconded by Ken Capelli. Okay. Pam would like to read it now, please.
Whereas Troy Ugritz began serving as a correctional officer for the Shawano County Sheriff's Office on September 6, 1989, and whereas Troy later continued his career as deputy sheriff and was then hired as a detective on December 20th, 2010, and whereas Troy is known for his attention to detail in his investigative work, particularly in theft and fraudulent crime cases, And whereas Troy has been a dedicated employee and known for his willingness to assist his fellow coworkers. And whereas Troy retired from the Shawano County Sheriff's Office on May 4th, 2020, and the Public Safety Committee desires to acknowledge and thank Troy for his 30 years of service. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 27th day of May, 2020, that the County of Shawano publicly recognizes and thanks Troy Ugeritz for his 30 years of service to the residents of Shawano County, submitted by the Public Safety Committee.
Okay, and we had the motion to approve. Go ahead, George.
And I think I said most of it with Troy. Troy, I don't know if you have anything that you want to say?
Well, going with what he said earlier, I've applied to work for the census, and any of you know who have worked with me before, if you haven't signed up, you really should. Because I don't give up and I don't go away.
Did they hire you, or are they going to check your qualifications?
They're going to check my background, so it's a 50-50.
Okay. Well,
We're good to go.
with that in mind then, thank you very much, Troy. All those in favor of resolution number 2021, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Troy. 30 years is a long time. Are you going to work for the census for 30 years too?
About 30 weeks. I don't think they're going to even have us here for that long. We're
It-
going to be done quick.
If you get the job.
Well, I got it. They're just got to training or something.
Okay, then we will move on to resolution number 22-20. Thanking Sandra Finger for 20 years of service. Pam? Oh, motion to approve? Or no? I'll get it right. Give me another meeting or two.
Thank you. Thanking, whereas Sandy Finger began serving as deputy for the Shawano County Sheriff's Office on April 14th, 2000, and whereas Sandy has maintained her position as a deputy sheriff for 20 years with Shawano County, and whereas during her career, Sandy specialized as a humane officer investigating animal cruelty complaints for the Sheriff's Office, and whereas Sandy worked consistently and admirably to address the responsibilities of her job, and whereas Sandy retired from the Shawano County Sheriff's Office on April 24th, 2020, and the Public Safety Committee desires to acknowledge and thank Sandy for her 20 years of service. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 27th day of May, 2020, that the County of Shawano publicly recognizes and thanks Sandra Finger for her 20 years of service to the residents of Shawano County, submitted by the Public Safety Committee.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion approved by Mark Boland, seconded by Richard Perfecki. Any comments, questions? George?
And like Pam said, Sandy did a great job with the humane officer. She was our one and only humane officer, so we're still attempting to replace somebody in that capacity. She also worked with all the child safety seat car checks. She's a certified, the state of Wisconsin actually, you have to be certified to check car seats, and it's actually a lot of training and continual education hours, and she stays certified in that for, she's had to be about 10 years or so, I believe. And so now we have nobody that's certified in that anymore. So it's, they both will be missed, and I had the pleasure of working with Sandy for many years and also being her supervisor on day shift when I was the lieutenant. And she can also be a pain in the butt at times. Sandy, do you want to say anything?
Sure. All right. Well, thank you very much, Sandy, for all that time. And it's too bad we can't do more for these people that are retiring after that, but I guess that's the way government works. So if you're in favor of thanking Sandy, in resolution number 22-20, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much, folks. And in case, if anybody is wondering, I believe the positions are being filled from transport drivers, if I remember right. And they use that as a way to see if the newer ones are going to kind of fit in with everybody. And then they look to hire replacements as transport drivers in that area so they can kind of see how they're going to work and fit in with the department. So with that, then we will move on to item number 11, resolution number 23-20 to approve zone change to the official zoning map for the town of Heartland.
Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 27th day of May 2020 that it approves the zone change to the official zoning map for the town of Heartland for the following parcels. Parcel ID number 022-2320-0010, David and Carrie Bohm. This parcel is rezoned from farmland preservation to agricultural and forestry general, submitted by the Planning, Development, and Zoning Committee.
Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Deb Nofke, seconded by Steve Geetz. I believe, Ken, were you still the chairman? I think so when we passed this. No? Steve, you want to comment on it, or? Oh, you need a mic over there, okay. Let's go ahead.
This is just one of those rubber stamp things we have to do because Heartland was a member of the county planning, and they went on their own now, so we have to always approve it according to statutes.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments? Okay, then I guess we're down to a motion, or we had a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to item number 12, resolution number 24-20.
Approving the application for state funds for the purpose of outdoor recreation and natural resource preservation or improvement projects. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 27th day of May 2020 that they authorize the Highway Park staff to make application to the state of Wisconsin for funds appropriated for the purpose of outdoor recreation and natural resource preservation and improvement projects, including but not limited to the motorized recreation grant, stewardship grants, and other applicable recreational funding. Be it further resolved that the Highway and Parks Committee is hereby authorized to evaluate the funds and any restrictions thereon from the state of Wisconsin, and then expend the accepted funds along with the appropriate county match, if any, for approved projects within approved budget constraints. Be it further resolved that the Highway and Parks Committee, subunit of the Shawano County Board of Supervisors, shall operate and maintain the designated projects for their intended purpose, submitted by the Highway and Parks Committee.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Devin Kiersen, seconded by, boy, I'm doing it again. John Ainsworth. Kevin, do you wish to comment on it, or?
This is just a standard yearly grant or resolution that we bring forward to give us the opportunity to apply for grant funds through the state of Wisconsin. We do this every year.
Okay, if there is no questions or comments, well, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carried. Okay, item number 13, resolution number 25-20.
To approve the Community Development Block Grant, Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund closeout, and Division of Community Development Block Grant closed grants. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 27th day of May 2020 that the county's CDBG, ED, RLF closeout, and Division of CDBG close opportunity grants as described above are hereby approved. Be it further resolved that the Shawano County Board of Supervisors hereby authorizes the preparation, execution, and filing of all documents necessary to effectuate the county's CDBG, ED, RLF closeout, and division of CDBG close opportunity grants. Empowers the county board chairperson to be the signatory on behalf of the county of Shawano on all necessary documents, and grants the Shawano County Administrative Coordinator authority to facilitate closeout of the county's CDBG, ED, RLF funds and preparation and filing of the appropriate application for funds under the DOA's CDBG Close program in accordance with this resolution. Be it further resolved that nothing in this resolution requires Shawano County to spend or provide any funds beyond those that it has received or will receive from applicable grant funding submitted by the Finance Committee.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Aaron Damrow, seconded by Arlen Tober. Brent will give us a little presentation on this, and it may not make much sense to you, but it's the way the state works sometimes.
This community development block grant is administered by the county on local funds, and you have all the fund breakout in the resolution. But HUD and the Wisconsin Department of Administration are closing all grants that we have around the state. And what they're doing is they've given us a couple options to do with them. Either we can send it all back to Madison, and then they will divvy it out as they see fit, or we can do it as a one-time grant to low to moderate income communities that have project-ready qualifying events that were also determined by the Department of Administration. And the low to moderate income communities go by a term 4 years ago, so it's not something current. So all of the current projects that you see listed, the City of Shawano, the Village of Gresham, the Village of Tigerton, and then putting $75,000 to a planning grant that would go for, we talked about like Anawa or something like that, other low to moderate income qualifying events on a one-time grant thing. Otherwise, we send it to Madison and they send it to either Milwaukee, Racine, wherever they deem necessary. So with this, we also have $148,000 that we have in outstanding revolving loan funds, but the City of Shawano, in order to get a bigger match, will pay that off, and so they'll give us the money to send into the state because it's on part of their project. They get a bigger match when they do this. So we didn't determine what the qualifying events were. We didn't determine what the low to moderate income communities were. But this was all set up by the state, and so rather than send the money back to Madison, the Finance Committee was in 100% agreement, let's keep the money here. And we had, we have 3 meetings at Finance on this, and I've been to 3 other ones besides, and it took me at least 5 meetings to really truly understand this, and I know it's not clear, but it was written by Madison. So, do you have any questions while I'm still here? Outstanding.
Okay. Well, if there's no questions or comments, it doesn't make any sense. No, we got to give them the money back, then they're going to give it back to us, and then we got to give it away again. So that's how the state works, I guess, sometimes. Well, no questions or comments. All those in favor then of resolution number 25-20, vote aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carried. Next item would be resolution number 26-20 to transfer $240,324.52. I'm stepping in the pants.
It's okay. Now therefore be it resolved by the Shawano County Board of Supervisors in session this 27th day of May, 2020, that a transfer of funds be authorized in the amount of $66,947.97 from the contingency fund balance to the 2019 appropriations for the following accounts. Cost Center 14202 for printing, $8,008.49. Cost Center 12031 for the register and probate, $35,622.84. Cost Center 12001 for Branch 1, $6,970.25. Cost Center 12002, Branch 2, $10,835.32. Cost Center 12021, Family Court Commissioner, $5,511.07. Total transfer from contingency fund balance, $66,947.97. Be it further resolved that $173,376.65 shall be taken from the Department of Human Services 1% to cover its institutional care line over budget item. Submitted by the Executive Committee.
A motion to approve would be in order. Motion by Jerry Erdman, seconded by Kevin Conrad. Are there any questions or, yes, Marvin? I think Nita will explain the one to you. The one's going to be due to housing, most of it's going to be due to housing one individual, I believe.
Yeah, so there was one juvenile that they sent to Tennessee to be housed by his family, and that took up the majority of their budget. So part of the problem with budgeting is you don't know what's going to happen, right? I mean, drugs are going up, everything. So we're having more people in our jail, so we're putting people other places, and that's kind of hard to budget with. We have to pay for certain things by state statute, and you just never know. Some years you're good, some years you're not. So, unfortunately.
Randy, you have a question?
They no longer exist. This is the first year we removed them from the budget out of 2020. But they did a lot of the printing for the county. So they would do specific projects, like for UW Extension, when they send out newsletters, they'd work on those and different things. But with all the multimedia machines, basically a lot of departments started doing it themselves. For them, they were over, they didn't hit their revenue, so they didn't cross-charge other places or get outsourced revenue in to cover their expenses. Yeah, so anything they did, they would charge another department, but sometimes those expenses, I mean, computers and all that stuff are going up, so. No. Yep. Yep.
Years ago, the last couple of years, it's been coming out of the county board, but prior to that, yeah, it was my budget.
What are you doing with all that extra money now?
I didn't get it.
Ken?
Yes, I'd just like to know,
Hold her, Arlen.
Hold on.
Ken's working up
Ken.
here in the front.
Contingency fund and the
Use
general,
mic, Ken? Ken?
the difference?
There's we budgeted $100,000 in the contingency fund, and which is within the general fund. So this will come out of that 100,000.
Okay. I guess my question, Tony, would be to you, it says it's a simple majority vote. When we take money out of the general fund, that's a higher
Two-thirds.
two-thirds vote.
I don't have a line, but the question is how much of a vote do you need? It's my understanding, you correct me if I'm wrong from the county standpoint, but the contingency fund is, well, it's part of the general fund, it's separate and set aside from the general fund. So we're not actually lowering the general fund at all. When that money was taken out for the contingency fund, that's when it occurred. So this is a simple majority type of vote.
In a way, we are lowering the general fund, because if the contingency wasn't spent, it would go back into the general fund, but that's why it was set aside, so you can do these minor adjustments that come along. Yeah, this goes out every year, the departments. Arlen?
yes, I was just wondering, like in register or probates, 35,000 is a lot to be over. but other years, they stayed pretty close to what they had budgeted. And now this year, it just went up 35,000 over. Mostly Guardium ad litem, I believe. And what was the reason for, I know it's just extra families, it must be a lot, but is there a reason why there was all these extra families?
Again, it's mostly clerk of court stuff, right? So it's dictated by them, basically, and Register of Probate has to follow state statutes. So a lot of the court activity is up, and so that's where we're seeing some of these big expenses coming through. So when we budget, and kind of back to Randy's comment, our budget is our best guess. So we're trying to, based off of history, decide what is going to happen in the future. And at any given point, a budget is never accurate. Even when you guys approve it, there's moving pieces that are happening that we might not understand or know about at that point. So it is a guess, and it's the best estimated guess based off of the trends we can find. So.
Deb has a question yet in the back. They don't have one.
He said, what if a simple majority, what if the county doesn't vote for this, then what happens?
Basically, it's there's no place else for it to come out of except for the general fund or the contingency, so I'm not really sure. I mean, in the new system, with this system, basically, unless I'm overriding the budget, they can't go over their budget. They have to transfer between lines. So if they are ordering office supplies and they're over their budget this coming year, well, this year, they have to actually move it from another place in their budget to cover those funds. Now, when they start hitting these things where there's extra costs because state statute mandates it, then we're going to make them come to you guys or the home committees and start talking about that so you guys are aware of that. Because, yeah, I don't like seeing this.
These bills, I think, and what Deborah's going, all of this stuff has already been paid.
Yeah, they're,
Just an
yeah,
account function, not.
yeah. Right. And this year, Deb, there is more of that in place, because if they're off in a line, they can't overspend. The system won't allow it. They have to have that conversation with me, and then we'll be doing budget adjustments to move it from one line item to another. Now, if we start talking that they're getting to the point where they're not going to have enough funds to cover their expenses, that's when I'm going to be sending them to you saying, hey, this is what's happening in their home committees, and you're going to have conversations with them also. One of the things we want to start doing now that we're kind of getting acclimated into the new system as well is start sending home committees the actual budget to report so that you can see exactly where they're at. Start scrutinizing them and start questioning them on where they're at in their budget and why they're close to a certain line. So you're getting them to start thinking about it as well as you. So this year we're starting the budget process, and we're already talking about trends, and we're going to be budgeting for 2 years this year. So we're going to be budgeting for 21 and 22 at the same time. So we're going to start looking and being proactive. How do we afford 2 years even down the line? Because with levy being so tight, we need to start getting a little bit better grasp on how we're doing our budgeting, so. Yeah, all these are court ordered other than printing, is what Brent says, and he's actually right, so.
Marvin? No, from the contingency fund, Marvin.
Well, no, for the human services, it's all coming out of their 1%. So every department has a 1%. So if they're under budget, we put 1% of their budget into this contingency fund for their department. When they're over, that's the first place it comes out of. So if they have enough money in their 1%, it's going to come out of that. And then anything left over would come out of the contingency fund. So if you look at family court commissioner on this sheet, their original amount is $6,001.26. They had some 1%, so we took that first, and then the remainder is what's coming out of the contingency fund. So we're depleting their 1% first before we start going to the contingency fund. Does that make sense? No.
And we have no control over that, Marvin. And we have no control over that. When the court orders something,
Yeah.
okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none then,
I do have
Yep.
a question.
Aaron?
The 1% fund, is that, so that's another contingency fund that each department potentially has?
Basically, so what happens is at the end of the year, after a budget, or the year is closed out, we look at where every department fell to their budget. If they're under budget, they can get 1% of their budget into this specific fund that we trigger just for them. If they are over budget, then if they have 1%, it comes out of there first because they've saved up for it. Otherwise, it would come out of this contingency fund. The max they can have in this 1% is 5% of their budget. So we watch that. Anything over that 5% would go to the general fund.
And is that 1% fund being explored for the potential budget cuts or budget issues?
Yes, they are looking at that as usable there. A lot of times when employees retire, that retirement, because the department pays half of that and we set aside half of it, that comes out of that contingency fund for that department as well, other 1%. So they use it like if they have special equipment that they want to buy that they can't fit into their budget, but that's always approved through their home committee. So if they're going to use 1%, it always has to be approved by their home committee and myself.
okay. Ken?
In the contingency fund, after this, if this resolution passes, what will there be in there?
That will go back to the general fund. So if what's not used out of that 100,000 goes back to the general fund, and then we budget another 100,000 the next year.
Okay, so you get 100,000 every
Yep.
year in there.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none then, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 26-20. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, one no. Deb? Okay, then we will move on to item number 15. Item number 15, the annual reports are out for the Emergency Management Department, Shawano Library, Shawano Menominee County Health Department, and Health Officer Director. And them are usually just placed on file. If you have any questions and you would, after you read through them, please contact the department heads and they will be able to explain to you the reasoning that's in there or why something happened that they reported. We will move on to number 16, report by the Finance Committee on General Accounts and Claims.
the general accounts for the month of April that were paid in the amount of $1,854,784.29.
Motion to approve. Motion by Bill Swatala, seconded by Mark Boland. Is there any questions or comments? Okay. One quick explanation for the new people. When you look at that list every month, I believe that only shows expenditures that are greater than, what, 5,000? Yeah, so if there's smaller ones, it's not bothered to list every small little detail in there. Just the major ones they go through. So, yeah, and they're already paid. Normally, that's just the final approval. So, no questions or comments. Then a motion to approve would be in order. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item number 17, acceptance of the committee minutes. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Kathy, seconded by Terry Tipton. Is there any questions or comments or changes or additions? If not, then by acclamation, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, number 18. Special orders or appointments. There's several of them that we have to go through and make, and I believe we have to do them each one at a time, correct? The appointments, special appointments, we have to do them each one at a time, correct?
The ones that are listed individually, like on the first page, yes. Then when you get to the second page, where you've got a group of them, like the lake districts and conservation, those can be done together.
Okay. So we can go through and do the entire Board of Health / Veteran Service Committee?
Individually, yes, yeah.
Each person has to be done?
Not each person, but just that.
Right, so we can do that, we can do them together then. And these are all members that are on the current committee, and they were looking to return, and I've heard no questions or problems with any of them. Randy, no? No. Okay. Okay. Well, then we'll have to deal with it then at that time. So with that, motion to approve the 3 members for the Board of Health. All those in favor? Oh, motion to approve the appointments of the Dr. Kevin Colhane, Deb Ludberry, and Randolph Ryder. Okay, by Randy Young, seconded by Deb Nofke. Okay, with no other discussion then, I see. Okay. Are you in favor then of approving Dr. Kevin Colhane, Deb Ludberry, and Rolf Ryder? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next one is the Executive Committee. That's where I was saying in the beginning, there's only one person that I actually get to pick out of the whole county board, and that individual cannot be on any of the considered like major committees. And I selected, and this is the first time around for this also, I selected Dan Miller, and I chose him. And the only other committee that Dan is on, I believe, is the airport. But I selected him for the executive committee and purposely kept him from other committees so I could choose him, is he has a very extensive background in finance and banking. And since the executive committee is now rolled together with what was finance before, I thought out of all the members here, when I was reading through the lists like of what you had done in the past, that he was the most obvious member that should be on there representing the board as an at-large position. So is there a motion to approve? Motion by Jerry Erdman, seconded by Arlen Tober. Is there any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none then, if you are. Yes, Dan? He's going to abstain on his part since he's the one being selected. So with that in mind then, if you are in favor of appointing Dan to the executive committee or confirming his appointment, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carried with Dan abstaining. Highway and Safety Commission. These are recommended by the Highway and Parks Committee and the Public Safety Committee. And we have appoint Steve Geetz as the Highway and Parks representative and Richard Furfecki as the Public Safety representatives. Do we have a motion and a second to approve them two appointments? Motion by Mark Boland, seconded by John Ainsworth. Is there any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Land Information Council. Reappoint Ken Capelli as the county board representative. And that council, if you look in your books, consists of quite a few various people, but there is one county board member supposed to be on there, and that's preferably one from the PD&Z committee. So I chose Ken again because he had been on there before and understands all the ins and outs of what happens there. Do we have a motion to approve Ken as the appointment? Motion by Steve Geetz, seconded by Richard Furfecki. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none then, those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The next one, actually the next two we can do all at once. It's for the Wisconsin Counties Association, North Central International Trade, Business and Economic Development Council, otherwise that abbreviation is usually said ITBEC, Board and Tourism Council. And the two members that were on there before, I believe this is only meets quarterly, if that is all this is. And Arlen Tober is on there right now, and Daniel Miller. With that in mind, motion to approve. Motion by Milt Marquardt, seconded by Jerry Erdman. Be careful back there, Jerry. Don't wear out. You only got one arm. I better watch. I'll get a backhand after the meeting for that yet. Okay. Yep, and Dan will abstain. Well, if there's no questions or comments, we have a motion and a second to approve Arlen Tober and Daniel Miller to the Counties Association, to the ITBEC Board. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, Lumberjack, Resource Conservation and Development. And that has always been Arlen Tober in the past and Marvin Klosterman, and these, by statutes, I believe, have to come from the Land Conservation Committee. Is there a motion to approve? A motion by Joel Miller, seconded by Randy Young. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to approve the appointment of Arlen Tober and Marvin Klosterman to the Lumberjack R&D. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carried. Okay. Lake Michigan Area Land and Water Conservation Association. This is another one that's recommended by the Planning Development, or no, excuse me, Land Conservation Committee. Makes the recommendation for this one. And that also would be, I think, just a quarterly meeting, isn't it, Marvin? That they have a quarterly meeting, it's not a monthly meeting. Yeah, okay. We have a motion to approve Marvin for that position. Motion by Rick Giese, seconded by Kevin Conrad. Is there any questions or discussion? If not, I have a motion and a second to approve Marvin for the Lake Michigan Land and Water Conservation Association. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Motion carried. Okay, we can do these last three all together. and that is the Lake District nominations, and these also come out of, based on the board rules, these come out of the land conservation, I believe, a recommendation from them of who they would like to appoint. And they have down Red Lakes Management District, Rick Giese, Loon Lake and Lulu Lake Management Districts, Devin Kiersen, and Tillida Pond Rehabilitation District, Joe Miller. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by John Ainsworth, seconded by Kimberly Leffel. Is there any questions or comments? If not, we have a motion and a second to approve the appointments for the Lake Districts. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, that is the end of them. We are up to item number 19. Board member comments or new business to be considered at a future meeting. John Ainsworth.
Obviously, the acoustics are not the best in this room. It makes it difficult for some of us. Depending on the COVID control or lack of, I would suggest that you do everything possible to move back home as soon as we can do it safely.
To the courthouse.
Yes.
You just like the chairs there, don't you? They're better than these. Okay. Is there any other comments? Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, I'm going to fast forward 2 years from now and ask that when you formulate your committee on committees that you consider putting some of the ladies supervisors on that committee. Good old boy syndrome. Thank you.
Okay. I never thought, Joe, never looked at it that way. Okay. I might not be here 2 years from now. Might get fired. Any other questions or comments to bring up for future meetings? Aaron Domro.
I'm looking for an update on the drug court, and I don't think the county board has had an update on the drug court that we're funding in quite some time since it's been funded. I
Okay.
think that the drug court coordinator may be willing to come talk to the county board.
Okay, that's been usually a annual basis, hasn't it? Always? Most of them are an annual basis. Anybody recall when we had the last update? Okay. And actually, last year, they didn't really have a whole lot to report, if I remember right, because they had just started, and it takes some time to develop some history of if what they're doing is gaining some ground or not. Because it's real easy to start a program and then, well, nobody has a reoccurrence and ends up back in jail in a month, you know. It takes them usually 3-4 months sometimes before some of them get to turn around and go right back. So we can look at that and see. We'll look back, and I'll have Brent look back and see when the last one was, and if it's been 6 months, maybe we can. What's that, Brent? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, then we are up to item number 20, claim report of County Board Supervisors, mileage and per diem for today's meeting.
For today's meeting with 29 members present, total paid out of $2,485.67. And the mileage has been adjusted for everybody to come out here to the county park.
Motion to approve. Motion by Teresa Serrano, seconded by Terry Tipton. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, that's right. That was always Ray's job. We have a motion and a second then to approve the claim report of the County Board of Supervisors for today's meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next meeting date is June 24th, 2020 at 3 p.m. And I guess I'll take John's comment into consideration, and we'll see kind of what the COVID is doing. If it's looks like it's still spreading. Maybe we'll come back here for another month or so. If not, we'll be back to the courthouse then. So watch your agenda and see what kind we come up with for sure. With that, I guess we're up to a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Joe Miller, second. I'll second it. I don't want to stay here any longer. Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
I got his car.